Well, there have been a lot of people dancing on the grave of DC Comics this past week, some with a fair degree of enthusiasm. But even those who seem resigned to just a sort of grim acceptance, even they seem to agree that this is the end. This is the death not only of DC Comics, but also of comic books in general. Well, I'm here to tell you, Mr. Man, that when comic books do die, it is not going to be because of some axe-wielding executives at AT&T. What is going to kill comic books is going to be Diamond. Diamond Distribution and its bastard stepchild, UCS. So, they say people like a nice rant on YouTube. Well, if what you enjoy listening to is somebody absolutely losing their shit, stick around. This is the video for you. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghala. My name is Duke, and this is a Mission Monitor Board segment. Basically, it is me making it my mission to monitor the doings of industry professionals and to report back to you on their failings. And the latest screw-up, and I shouldn't say latest because they've been a fuck-up for decades, is Diamond Comics Distribution. There are a lot of people, as we noted in the teaser, who believe that the comic book industry now is going to collapse. And they're blaming that on cuts at DC Comics. They're blaming that also to a certain degree on DC Comics having left Diamond. Now, I don't fault DC for leaving Diamond, going from Diamond to UCS and Lunar. We're going to talk about them in a couple of minutes because UCS is it's a freaking hot mess is what it is. So anyway, I don't fault Diamond for shutting down. The problem is what happened right after Diamond shut down because of COVID. The problem was a letter like a week and a half after it shut down, a letter that Diamond put out saying that it was only going to pay publishers about 30% of what it owed them at that point, and then the rest was going to be parceled out over 6 months. Well, that sent up a giant red flag because we're talking about books the publishers had already sent, that Diamond had already circulated to comic book stores for which it had, in theory been paid, because I know a lot of stores are cash on delivery. So Diamond, had all or most of that money in hand and could not get it back to the publishers, presumably without putting itself out of business. So the red flag was that Diamond was in that precarious a position, that it was riding that close to the ragged edge of insolvency. And so I don't blame DC. My only surprise is that more publishers also did not jump ship because, DC had to realize that, at any point, if Diamond is indeed on that shaky footing, well, they could kill us at any time. Alterna, which is a small publisher, a publisher I very much enjoy and recommend, they also jumped ship. Everyone else has stayed with Diamond, and I don't understand that because when Jeppy put out this goofy tagline saying, after COVID, our comeback will be bigger than our setback. Well, that's only true if you believe, as Diamond, that you want to come back to being as big a fuck up as you ever were. Because for decades, Diamond has screwed up literally almost every single week. I would go to Zimmy's Comics in Lewiston, Maine, and every other week at least, something would be wrong with my order. Something would not be in my pull list, either because it arrived damaged and had to be sent back, and Lord knows if you'd ever get another copy, or because Diamond shorted the order, maybe because, Zimmy's didn't have very large orders, so it would fill other orders and screw us, or somebody just dropped the ball and just screwed up. And this affected, a lot of sales. And an example just this week. Boom Studios has a book called Alienated, and I bought issue 1 and I bought issue 2 before COVID, And then 3 never showed up after COVID, and 4 never showed up, and 5 came out this past week. 5 finally arrived, and guess what? So did 3 and 4. But 3 and 4 were both damaged. We had to send them back. I say we because the store that I shop at now, I work for the company that owns that store. So I do get an employee discount, but apart from that, and apart from having a little bit of inside baseball info, I'm just another customer. So anyway, we had to send back alienated 3 and 4 because they were damaged. And these were not incidental damages, mind you, from the piss poor packing that Diamond gives. Right? No bubble wrap, nothing really other than maybe a few pieces of paper to speak of. Stuff will be just flopping around inside a box, and UPS, kicks the hell out of it, and books arrive damaged. But these particular books, this was not just being dinged from sliding around inside a box. I mean, one, the book looked like it had almost been folded in half horizontally, and then the other one, the back cover was bent. Well, again, it didn't get that from sliding around inside. It didn't bend itself, crease, and then unbend. So these books had to have been damaged before they were even shipped. So I think they were getting kicked around in the warehouse. Certainly these books that came from Diamond, alienated number 3 and number 4, they had to be sent back. And I don't think we're ever going to get 3 and 4. Because here's the thing now, and why I say, the comeback is bigger than the setback, only in that they are screwing up worse than before. Now stores don't have an account rep at Diamond anymore. The store can't get on the phone and talk to a representative, can't talk to any live person. All you can do is send an email. You send it out into the ether. Maybe you hear back, maybe you don't. And so not only is there no way of knowing if we're ever going to get alienated 3 and 4 in some kind of sellable shape, some shape that I will accept for $3.99, we don't even know. Diamond hasn't acknowledged that there is a problem. So I've dropped that title. So Boom Studios, if you're listening, why are you still with Diamond? I don't understand, because they are solely the reason why I'm no longer buying alienated. They cost you sales. Another story from this past week, Image Comics, Matt Fraction, Terry Dodson. If you're listening, maybe Diamond is going to cost you sales too, because this past week, Adventure Man number 3 should have come out. Diamond didn't send it. Didn't arrive. I see online, other people have got it. Nothing here. Can't get anybody on the horn from Diamond to find out where it is. Don't know if we're ever going to get it. So, Image Comics, why are you still with Diamond Distribution? They've got one job. They're not doing it. They're not getting the books where they need to go. Why are you still with them? And then the biggest screw up of all this past week, and this just proves how awful, awful, awful Diamond is. And again, just repeat that this is not new. This isn't just post-COVID kerfuffling going on. So the biggest screw up, even bigger than sending damaged copies late, months late, even bigger than not sending books at all. You're not going to believe this one. So and again by we I mean .com Comics, we submitted an order for a case of Mandalorian action figures from Kenner, Star Wars action figures. And on the invoice, it says 1 case Mandalorian action figures, and it's, the charge is $100 plus. You know what we got? 1 single lone figure. Like, whoever packed that box looked at the invoice, went, okay, $100 plus for this 3.5-inch action figure. Somebody went, oh yeah, that looks right. And sent 1 action figure. But here's the biggest thing, right? Doing it was a direct violation of Diamond policy, because Diamond does not sell lone action figures. You can only buy them by the case. So somebody had to break into that case. So now what I want to know, if you're out there, if you own a comic book store and you ordered a case of Mandalorian action figures, you tell me if the box you got looks like it had been opened up and resealed. You tell me if you're short 1 figure, because we've got it. And so this is not just, Steve Jeppy having trouble getting things back on track after COVID. This is a company that has been a clusterfuck for a decade or more, being now an extra special clusterfuck because and Jeppy, who admittedly stepped away, is kind of now back at the wheel, but it really doesn't matter. It does not really matter. I don't think there's anything Jeppy can do because the employees just don't seem to care. And why would they, right? You pay minimum wage, what do you get? Minimum work. And also the computer system from Diamond, which was effectively written on a Commodore 64 and hasn't been updated since. So I don't think Jeppy can get this thing back on track. And so what I say is, you know what, Steve, you did well. The industry owes you a debt of gratitude. It owes you its thanks. You kept the comic book industry alive for quite a while, since the early 90s, as the sole distributor. But as time went on, the last couple of decades, things got worse and worse, and now I think they are irreparable. I think, Steve, it's time to just retire. You're what, in your 70s now? It's time to just call it a career, man. And I don't think Jeppy can't even sell Diamond, because its computer systems are out of date. Its warehouses are all leased. Its employees, for the most part, are, they're people who are too lazy to go work at McDonald's. They could make more at McDonald's, but that's too much like work, so they went to work for Diamond. Not everybody, of course, but to judge by the service that we receive, a fair number. So you just gotta pull the tent pole down, fold it up, go home, enjoy your retirement, Steve. You deserve it, but I don't think you can sell Diamond. I don't think anybody wants it, and you've got no business being in business. I think Diamond is done, has to be done. And again, because it is clearly operating very close to the breaking point anyway, the littlest thing is going to kill it. And people are saying the one thing that killed it is DC jumping ship. Well, again, I think DC should have jumped ship. It had every reason to. But one of those ships is a friggin' leaky boat. So at DCBS, they were in business to ship comic books. So it was kind of an easy switch, a good transition from shipping them retail to shipping them wholesale to stores. They had to set up a different branch to do that. That branch is Lunar Distribution. The problem is that unless you want to pay pretty high shipping fees, you pretty much are only dealing with Lunar if you are on the western half of the United States. If you are on the eastern half, well, DC threw in with an outfit called Midtown Comics, and that became UCS. The wholesale branch is UCS. But the problem is that Midtown Comics is just a comic book store. Yes, they ship a lot of comic books, but they're effectively just a comic book store, and it shows because UCS has just been cock-knocking awful. And a lot of people you have seen online when DC first threw in with UCS and Lunar, you have seen a lot of comments online about how great the packaging was. Ooh, bubble wrap. Ooh, Diamond never did this. Ooh, our orders are arriving undamaged. Finally. Isn't that what a distributor is supposed to do? Yeah, they're charging a little more for shipping, but the books are arriving in mint condition. Well, I'm here to tell you that the books that .com is getting from UCS are packed no differently than Diamond. There's no bubble wrap. There's just maybe a thin sheet of paper. That's it. The boxes sometimes aren't even full. It's just books floating around in a box. And we have got damaged books and have had to send those books back. So really, I mean, in truth, the switch from Diamond to UCS is a distinction without a difference. It's just the same. So let's talk about UCS. Let me go over it with you in kind of the terms that this should be discussed in, which is a blind berserker rage. So here's the deal. Initially, .com was going to stay with Diamond because initially DC's switch to UCS and Lunar was voluntary. But a few weeks in, DC pulled the plug on Diamond, said, nope, that's it. We're not going through them anymore as of this instant. Boy, DC really screwed that up. They should have put the transition at some future point to get everybody on board. Because here's what happened to us. We set up an account with UCS pretty easily. But then at some point, UCS decided that they didn't have all the information that they needed. We set up the account, we sent them an order, we got the order in on time, but UCS apparently decided they didn't have the information they needed. Apparently, there was a Maine State seller certificate or something. Well, it turns out they had that. So we weren't getting our orders. Well, UCS is a lot like Diamond now. You can't speak to a live person. We couldn't get anything other than by email, and the answer came back, yes, we understand, but a full explanation is in the email we sent you. Well, there was no email. So we emailed again and said, we don't have an email, and they emailed back and said, we understand the answers in the email. We're like, we don't have the email. Please tell us what's going on. Tell us why you're not filling our orders. So this goes back and forth like for a couple of weeks, asking what the problem is, being told it's been explained in an email, saying we don't have that email, getting an email saying we understand, it's in the email. Finally, the owner of the store got on the horn with UCS, spent some time yelling and screaming, got it straightened out. They had the information they needed, but here's the problem. During that almost a month and a half or so, they weren't filling our orders. We were getting orders in on time. UCS was not filling the orders and now apparently can't. And the only explanation we can get from them is that DC didn't send enough books. Well, apparently what is happening is that DC has now gone one step further, and they are only printing to fill orders made by the final order cutoff. So even though we had orders in before the final order cutoff, because they weren't processed, the books weren't ordered, UCS doesn't have them, isn't shipping them to us, isn't giving us an explanation, isn't saying where the books are, if we'll ever get them. The most we've gotten is DC didn't send us enough books. But here's the thing that pisses me the fuck off, is that they have the books. They just don't have them for us, all right? If you go to Midtown Comics, the retail arm of UCS, you can find all the books that we are missing. Catwoman 23 is a big book, right? But we can't get it. All of those books we missed, we're not getting them. And UCS isn't really saying anything other than DC didn't send us enough books. Well, they've got them. They just don't have them for us. And if you go to Midtown, you can get them. We could get all those books from Midtown, but we can't get them from UCS. And so really, DC, Warner Communications, AT&T, if anybody there is listening, you need to put into this contract with Midtown if you stay with them, and I don't think you should. You should put into the contract that UCS has to fill orders for all of its wholesale customers before it starts filling retail orders. And that means Midtown Comics. Midtown Comics should not have any extra copies to sell until all of the comic book store orders are fulfilled. I mean, that's just my feeling. Because again, Hawkman 26 just came out. I still don't have 25. That's one of my favorite books. It's the best book DC is putting out right now. I'm kind of annoyed and pissed off that it's being canceled, but I don't have 25. I could get it if I went to Midtown. Can't get it through UCS, so I can't get it at my local comic book store because UCS isn't sending it because the order that was submitted on time has not been filled. Shazam 13 didn't get number 12. Don't know what's up with that. Now, Plunge, we just got Plunge number 5. We never got number 3. We never got number 4. So that's a book like Alienated. I just told Dan, drop it. I don't think I'm ever going to get 3 and 4. And so there's no point. It's a limited series. It's one story. Fuck it. Drop that book. So DC, UCS, the one you threw in with because Diamond was so bad, they're fucking up too. And they are costing you sales. So, and I think that's Jeff Lemire. Jeff, if you're a little annoyed with the low sales in your book, well, now you know why. So, I don't know, brother. I don't know. What can happen from here? So many people are just saying, well, that's it. I mean, with the cuts that AT&T made recently at DC Comics, they're saying it's not going to do any good. Nothing you can do. The whole industry is about to collapse. And here's what I think. I think DC needs to bite the bullet and throw in with Amazon, all right? Maybe it can keep Lunar. It should jump UCS, right? Midtown is just a comic book store. They don't have the infrastructure. They can't get the books to the stores. They're just not set up, to be a distributor. And I don't think they're going to be set up in time to help anything. So DC needs to bite the bullet and throw in with Amazon. And that's a good thing because AT&T needs to get HBO Max on the Kindle Fire. And so in order to do that, it's going to have to give Amazon something, right? That can be DC Comics sales, right? Amazon is in the business of shipping. They've got that down cold. They could fulfill wholesale orders to comic book stores pretty easily. And you might even get free shipping. Who knows? Because one of the problems with Lunar and UCS is the higher shipping. And the other thing that Amazon could do is subscriptions. Do you remember buying comics by subscriptions? Maybe you're not old enough. But, DC could do subscription sales through Amazon. And Amazon would love that because what does a subscription sale mean? It's a recurring customer. Amazon, knowing that it is sending something to somebody every month for a year, it can pack that package with all kinds of flyers and offers and all kinds of things. So it's great advertising to a known customer, which is as close to a guaranteed sale as you're going to get. So it can actually save money on some other advertising. It does. So I think that DC going with Amazon for subscriptions and maybe even with wholesale distribution to comic book stores, that's a nice little cookie, I think, that DC, AT&T could throw. It's a bone, if not a cookie, a bone, that it could throw to Amazon that might sweeten the pot a little bit. Now, yes, maybe AT&T would effectively have to, give Amazon those books more or less at cost. At least the subscription copies at cost wouldn't make any money. But if it gets a big circulation boost from doing that, well, it can do something it hasn't been able to do for a lot of years, which is sell advertising within the books. Not just house ads, but actual revenue-producing ads. You get those sales from 30 or 40,000 copies up to 100, 200,000 copies because you've got Amazon selling your subscriptions. That's going to be maybe a good thing, even if you have to give those books to Amazon at cost. And it's a bone, again, that AT&T can throw to Amazon to maybe sweeten the pot to get HBO Max onto the Amazon Fire, the Kindle Fire, excuse me. So anyway, that's the video. That's the rant. Diamond sucks. UCS sucks. I think all publishers should drop Diamond, stick a fork in it. It's done. Steve, sayonara. Job well done up till now, but enjoy your retirement. And I think the DC ought to drop UCS, find some other alternative, and I think probably the best bet is going to be Amazon. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'm right, and you'll be able to buy subscriptions through Amazon. Stores will get their wholesale orders through Amazon. Maybe everybody else is right, and what we're seeing now is the death throes of not only DC, but the entire comic book industry. I'm going to talk about how to save DC in the next video. So until then, good night, good luck, and please be good to each other.